Well, welcome everyone to our GEG Sydney group. This is our second meeting since we've newly reformed recently. And our topic today, we're going to have an Ask Me Anything segment where we've put together some topics that have come up from discussion or through our Google form that we're going to share some of our insights, but we're very open to having people in the call jump in and share your wisdom too.
I like how when we called it Ask Me Anything, it was meant to be like open and inclusive, but it just sounds arrogant. We don't know everything, that's for sure. Back to you.
All right, we'll go to the next slide. All right, so yeah, a big part of our GEG Sydney group is that we are here because we want to learn and learn all the up-to-date Google for Education tools we'd love to share, which is what today is all about. It's sharing our ideas and strategies with each other, making new connections with people we may not have met before, and inspiring each other, finding new ideas and possibilities.
Yep, and we've got a website with all the stuff on it, and you can scan it with that code or just go to ggSydney.com. All right, this is what we're going to do, right?
Yep. So we're going to start with our acknowledgement of country, and then we'll have our Ask Me Anything section. Then we'll open it up to the everybody else, so anyone might have a question. Anyone like to share what's been working for you? That was a really great one last time. And little wrap up and what our next event's going to be.
All right. And can I encourage everybody to use the chat? There is a Q&A feature in here, but I think we're a small enough group today that we can just use the chat. So if you have questions or things as we go through, just chuck them in the chat. If you want to talk, like I said, this is much better as a conversation than us talking at you. So, if you want to talk, put your hand up or just wave at us and we'll open the mic up and feel free to contribute. That'd be great. Claire.
All right. Acknowledgement of country.
Oh.
GEG Sydney acknowledges and pays respect to the traditional owners of the lands upon which we meet. We honour their connection to land, sea and community, and recognise the strength and resilience of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities in the face of colonisation.
All right. Kelly, you can do this slide.
Sure. So hi everyone, I'm Kelly. I am the one in the middle there. So I am currently the Science Product Manager at Education Perfect after being in the classroom for 14 years. I was lucky enough to meet Chris and Claire through, many Google events, and this is where GEG Sydney was born. So Chris, I probably won't do your bio any justice. So do you want to give a quick intro for anybody that doesn't know you?
Oh, I think everyone on the call knows me, so I'm not too worried about that.
Easy, Claire.
Yeah, but for anyone who's watching this in the recording, yes, my name's Chris Betcher. I used to be a teacher for many years. I now sort of work for myself, or I sort of don't work for myself. I don't know. Semi-retired sounds good. But notionally, I run a little company called Crux Learning, and I do still work with some schools and some teachers. And Claire.
And hi, I'm Claire. So I'm a teacher, a primary teacher in CSPD. I have been in a mix of roles, but my big passion is digital learning as well as creative arts for students, and finding great ways to support teachers and students with embedding digital technologies into their learning, and that's a big part of my role. I'm currently teaching Year 4 back in the classroom again after an 18-month stint out of the classroom, and I am also the K-4 e-learning leader and the AI and digital learning coach for 5 to 12. So it's a bit of a challenge trying to share the love across the whole K-12 school, but I'm enjoying it. Nice. And I've also done all my Google credentials and met these wonderful people, and that's why we're here.
All right. And so those Google credentials that Claire mentioned is things like becoming a Google certified innovator or a Google certified trainer, or just being part of that Google community. And we've all three of us have been part of that for a very long time. And so, we've picked up a thing or two along the way, although the things keep changing. So, we're learning all the time. But yeah, this session is called an Ask Me Anything session. We have got some questions from people in advance. We might have made up some as well. We're not telling you which is which. But, we're going to try and dig into some things. So we're going to start with this one. First one was, we had a question about how to use these collaboration tools. And because Google's always been, the collaboration piece has really been part of Google's DNA right from the day one. And so, someone asked, how do you use these tools to do collaborating in ways that really boost engagement or learning outcomes? And I think, Claire, you threw some things in here, didn't you?
Yes. So I'm a big fan of all of these, and I've used them many times for a number of years. But good old Google Sites is an oldie but a goodie, and it's just such a great way for students to share their learning in a bit of a different way, rather than just the good old Google slide deck that a lot of people tend to go for. But I love that it is a collaborative tool. The different ways I've used it, the students had to, as a group project on a shared interest, but also as a way to make the learning visible for parents as well. So I did it that students created or had to do their own digital learning portfolio, and then I made like a doc with all the links for the whole class on it, so it was easy for us to put things up and share things with each other. But the best part was that we were able to, during student-led conferences, so the students showed their parents their site that they had made, and with all their work samples and great work on there. And the parents were just like, did you make this? This is like a real website. And they're like, yeah. So that was, they were very proud of that, but it was also great that they could share it like beyond the classroom in a sense, like they could make their site public if they wanted to. So that was a cool one.
Hey, Claire, Australian Google Site thing. And I first saw Donna Golightly from New Zealand do this the very first time. And I hadn't thought of it before, and now I've seen Ryan, who's in the call with us today, do this a lot, and it's such a great thing, where you can use Gemini Canvas to actually create apps or games or flashcard things, or like you can do all sorts of coding stuff inside Canvas, which is really cool. But then it spits out all this JavaScript code, and I always thought, what do you do with the JavaScript code? Honestly, you just cut and paste it into an embed box in Sites.
Yeah.
Suddenly, you've now got this app running in the web page in Sites. And Ryan, you're nodding.
Yeah, for some reason, I didn't even consider that as an option until I presented on Canva AI to New Zealand colleagues. And one of the things they were sharing was, what do you do with these apps once they're created? And they said, oh, I embedded in a Google site. And I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. That's my next thing.
It works really well. I've made little flashcard games and all sorts of things. And then, like, especially on mobile, like it works great on mobile, which is where most of the audience is.
Awesome.
I was just going to say, just also the other one that works really well when you want to do that is just making them as Chrome apps. So Google Chrome apps works really well.
Oh, nice. Sites is so underrated, and it's such a powerful. There are whole companies that exist that do nothing but build commercial grade websites in Sites that emulate all the features of things. Well, not all the features, but a lot of the high end features, the stuff you'd use WordPress for. And the thing is with Sites, a lot of the times, if you just use it straight out of the box, it looks like a Google site, which often is not super fancy. But if you really start to understand how sites work and be able to tweak it, you can build some really beautiful sites.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, back to you.
Right. Well, Google Vids, like, it's only fairly still in a new stage, but I think we are planning to do, I know Chris wants to do a session just on that coming up, but it was actually on my wish list from the very first Google Energizer I went to. We all had to write on a post-it note what's something that a Google tool you would want. And as a teacher trying to get my students to create video projects all on the one iPad trying to make iMovies, I was like, oh, if only they could all be on, something at once. And when Google Vids came out, I was very excited for that reason. And such a great collaborative tool that really has boosted engagement with the students. And they love that they've got the really great stock images and videos that you can import, and a much more modern, and the templates that you can pick from make things a lot easier. But I love that it's an assignment feature now in Google Classroom. So and as a teacher, I've created a template for the students to complete. And I did a lesson with some Year 6s last week where we set up using Brisk an AI chat to like a Carlo Acutis, who's just became a saint. And then it was like to engage the students more in a religion lesson. And so they did that. And then I set up a template. They had to make a little video of what they had learned from that chat. in Google Vids, and yeah, it was so good and so engaging. The teacher was like, oh, I never would have thought of something like this. So yeah, that was really cool.
We've been doing so the Google community is actually having a couple of meetings over the next couple of weeks called Energizers, and I know there's people in this room that might be there. But we've been running a Google Vids challenge, like a film festival kind of thing, where we're asking people to make something in Vids. And the overwhelming feedback I'm getting from people is like, I've never used it before. I've never really looked at it, but oh my God, it's so easy to use and it does such great work. So yeah, we're trying to encourage people to look at it, obviously. So if you haven't looked at Vids yet, it is super useful. I do remember years ago when I was still in the classroom, I got a phone call one day from Swan Yo, who some of you know from Google, and Swan called me and he said, would you be interested in doing a Chromebook project in your school, like a Chromebook pilot? And my first question, because I was a media teacher, was, can I do video editing on it? And he went, not really. And I went, then I'm not interested. And I'm so glad now that there's a legit, usable, good, productive video tool, and it's collaborative. That just makes every
just add into that, Claire, your when you talked on your blog about Google Vids, I think the good point you made there was that for teachers and children in particular, that it's not much of a step from Google Slides.
No, it isn't. Yeah, thanks, Paul. Little side plug for my podcast to get up a notch. That was our first episode was on Google Vids. Thanks, Paul. But yeah, you're right. And it's similar to Slides, so it is a good transition. And I didn't have to really show the students in Year 6 at all. They figured it out very easily. It was really good. Yeah, and they teach you stuff anyway.
Well, I think you mentioned, you said Year 1 and Year 2 students can use it as well. Well, Rachel did.
Yeah. I think the design team that built Vids, I think, did something really clever in just borrowing so much of the UI from Slides, because it just means people who might have been intimidated by making a video but are quite comfortable with making slides can jump into it and just feel this like very shallow learning curve.
In fact, it's also worth noting it also integrates really nicely with Slides, because I've been using it to take presentations and turn them into cool online things. And again, you just choose your slide deck, bring it straight in and hit record. So again, part of the Vids fan group. It's an amazing tool.
Yeah.
Cool. So Ryan's question, or any Google tools used in the creation of my podcast? Be honest, no. So we actually, because we're just doing it ourselves, and we're just using GarageBand actually, and then we're editing in a I'm not the one doing all that work, Rachel is, but yeah, she's using some outside tools. But yes, if Google had one, we would be using it.
Adobe Podcast, I'll give a thumbs up for that, Jules.
Yeah.
Great tool.
Other just ideas I just wanted to share was like in Google Classroom. Obviously, we know that's a huge collaborative tool, and but other ways I've done it in a different way was I'm using it for like clubs and groups that I'm doing at lunchtime as a way to connect with those students that I don't necessarily see all the time every day. And I'm sharing, like when I had a rock band and a choir, it was ways we could share videos of like song lyrics with each other, or students were sharing videos of performances they'd done in their lessons outside of school together, which was very cool. So sort of like our own little separate blog that we could share with one another, which was cool. And Slides as well, like a different way of using it, I guess. I had like a slide that I shared with my students, and we did a photography lesson, and they had to upload all their images into the slide. So then it ended up being a really cool like collaborative piece that we worked on together. And a way you can set up like a gallery walk, you can go along and look at students' work, and they can add to that, which, and obviously good old group presentations, it's a great one there. And I just wanted Google Drawings. I love Google Drawings, and it's one of those things that a lot of people forget about or don't. It's a bit underutilized as well, but it is collaborative. A lot of people don't realize that. So, and I've done some awesome art projects with it before, and there's some really great lessons on there with mosaic artworks, and then even the students learning how to those skills of screenshotting and uploading and sharing, like we're linking it with like we use like Seesaw at my school and things like that, but you're building all those digital tools as well. Yeah, so a little plug for that.
There was a question from the chat where Ryan said about Google needing to have an audio enhancer like a podcast or Canva Enhance AI. It's not quite exactly the same thing you're talking about, Ryan, but I will just give a little plug to if you've got a Chromebook Plus, there is an audio enhancer built in at the hardware level in Chromebook Pluses now. And so in the audio settings, there's a little switch that says studio quality or studio quality, I think it is. And you turn that on and your mic sounds amazing. So that's built in at hardware level. So not quite what you were saying, but similar. All right. I was just going to throw two things in. I used to do a great project when I was doing PD work with teachers, but it would work fantastic in a classroom as well, where I'd come in with magazines and we'd pull the magazines apart and I'd get kids to analyze the structure of magazine pages in terms of, where are the images, where are the columns, where are the headings, where are the logos, that kind of thing. And they'd dissect, they'd reverse engineer the pages and then build them in Google Slides by changing Google Slides into an A4 format by just changing the numbers in the settings. And then we'd create, this is just a sample of pages that teachers did when I do these sessions with teachers. But just that idea of being able to collaborate together in one magazine, you could do like a class magazine or a school magazine in slides by everyone collaborating together into one document. So I'll throw that in as an idea. And then this too as well, just another project I've done with kids in terms of collaboration, which is what we're talking about. I walked in class one day with that box of blocks and said, oh, what sort of questions could we ask about this? Like how many are there and which is the most common color and, what's the average number of colors and so on. And you pose all these sort of data-driven questions and then you go, right, well, your job is to open this up. But there's too many blocks there for one group, so I'm going to split you into groups and each of you get a couple of handfuls of blocks. And then I'd give them this spreadsheet and they'd have to go and enter all the data. They'd count the blocks, enter it all into the spreadsheet. And when they finished up, they'd have something like that. So, this idea of you give kids things to work on to collect the data and bring the data into one place. And we did it as group work and then split the group work up into individual work by turning off the group settings. So there's a lot you can do in terms of collaboration and managing that sort of flow of work in a collaborative environment.
I love in sheets showing them that button that just turns it into like a chart or a pie chart, and they're like, what?
Nice. By the way, we'll release these slides at the end there. There's a learn more at the bottom there. There's a whole slide deck that takes you through this if anyone's interested. Okay, another question we had was, what new AI features in Classroom are you excited about and how might they change the way teachers and students interact? Anyone want to pick up on this one?
I don't think I have access to them, to be honest. So yeah,
Right.
I'm keen to learn.
I'd actually take it one step further, and I know you, Chris, you talk about this, but Notebook LM. I mean, it's just
we're going to get Notebook LM. Don't you worry about that.
It's had some recent updates, AI updates, and
Yeah.
Well, look, I'll leap on this one only because I'm actually rolling this out in our schools, in fact, to be really contentious. Most of us, for those who don't know me, so I'm Julian, I work with the Anglican Schools Corporation. I have this wonderful new role of head of AI, so I'm responsible for head AI across our 20 schools. Most of our schools, more than 3/4 are Microsoft schools who don't have Google ecosystems. I've started in my 3 months here doing something contentious. We're turning Google back on in Microsoft environments. So we're not turning on everything, where they're Microsoft, so they're using OneDrive, all those things, but I have turned on specifically Google AI. They're using Gemini and they're using the new Classroom AI features.
And just when I thought I couldn't love you anymore.
Yeah, no, and it gets better because I've discovered, and again, we just talk realities, right? We're a group here. We're not all Google files. I mean, apart from Chris, we're not all Google files. Yes, we use Canvas LMS, so I couldn't turn on Google Classroom. What I've discovered is I can turn on the Classroom AI features, but disable what we now call Google Classroom Teaching. They've got this new brand, which is the LMS. Anyway, we now have it turned on in 4 schools that used to be pure Microsoft, and they are loving it. And they're loving the most simplest of tools at the moment. Things that you kind of go, oh, couldn't use Gemini for that? Things like adjust reading level. Because what they've done is made a really cool interface that you put in your text, you choose your reading level, you can tell it what words you want to keep. And then it gives you this output which actually identifies for you which words were changed, which words were kept. It's these little tools in AI Classroom that are having a huge impact. I don't have to learn how to have a conversation with an LLM. Doesn't matter, for people like us who live AI, it's easy for a teacher to go, well, what do I have to ask? How do I prompt it? the Classroom AI just by creating either pre-built interfaces. And if you haven't played with it, I won't screen share now, but it even will trigger. Oh, look at that. So what I love is where you see a round icon, it has a custom pre-built interface, which is amazing. So if you want to create a rubric, your screen sharing, can you click on just re-level the text just for my example?
I can do better than that, my friend. I'll go over here and share this tab instead. Now we're live. So you want to go re-level text?
Yeah, just re-level text. Let's just cheat. Just copy the opening paragraph and paste it down because I want people to see this. The impact this has on teaching is just so it's misunderstood by those who don't teach. Yep. Underneath it, let's just tell it to keep a couple of words. Let's just keep levels and grade. So type in levels, hit enter, grade, hit enter. And let's choose a target grade and let's take this down to year 3.
Yep, sure.
Now, when you hit generate, not only do you not have to learn how to prompt, but the interface is so wonderfully designed. It's identifying what's shifted, what hasn't shifted, it's underlined the words that it's kept, and it's just given me a copy button. So it doesn't matter if I'm using this in Canvas LMS. It doesn't matter if I'm using this in Google Classroom. It doesn't matter if I'm using this in Microsoft PowerPoint. They've designed it so that this works everywhere. It's not locked to an ecosystem. Let's go back to Classroom AI because I won't go through all these tools. I'll encourage people who have access. You get access to this on every single Google Education tier. You don't need to be on paid. We're not on paid for most of our tools.
I think it's turned off for me because I don't have it.
Make sure you speak to your admin team because they just need to turn it on.
Yeah, speak to Christian and it's not turned off. It just wouldn't be turned on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It is. It used to be a paid feature, and then about month and a half ago they opened it up to everybody now, so everybody has this unless your admin's turned it on.
So the only other thing I want to bring people's attention to is the ones that have the star, the Gemini icon, rather than teaching people how to write a prompt, which again most educators going, I don't have time for this. You've highlighted craft engaging discussion prompts, Chris. Why not? What this does is it loads Gemini, but it's now pre-prompted for you. All the work has been done. If you just want to open up the top there, you can see that it's automatically added the prompt. So now I just have to answer the question. In fact, we just minimize it back down because most teachers don't look at this. It's just, it is pre-prompted so that, hi, I'm helping you get started with a discussion point. So you can use the power of Gemini without the fear of having to learn how to prompt. So, yeah, look, as you can hear from how I'm talking, I am a huge fan of this. I'm pushing it into as many of our schools as I can. Microsoft aren't going to go down this path. This isn't me bagging Microsoft. They're rebranding an enterprise tool where Google are building for education. So this is why I'm enabling it. And, you know, I'm now presenting at an IT conference that I'm going to about how we're now becoming a dual ecosystem again. It's no longer A or B. It's how do we get the best out of both worlds to support our teachers? So I'll hand back to you, Chris. But yeah, a huge fan of the Classroom AI, and it is very much worth playing with, and talk to your admins to turn it on. No cost.
Nice. Nice. Thanks for jumping in. That's awesome. Anyone else want to say anything about it? I mean, I do love the fact that if I go back to
it's quite a big menu. Yeah.
It's really grown. And I think, you know, if you've been watching this space for a while, you've seen things like Magic School Bus and is it not Magic School Bus? Magic School and like and even Quizzes did this kind of thing where, you know, it's this modularized kind of thing. And I think they've done a really good job of this, and it's just free inside Classroom. So if you haven't checked it out, you definitely should. There's some really cool stuff in here.
Quizzes is called Wayground now.
So, like,
yeah, because they're more than just quizzes, apparently.
Yeah. Don't get me started. All right, back to slides, which is somewhere here. I'm going to move some things around so I know what I'm doing. Clearly, I don't know what I'm doing. Things have gone astray. Where is everything gone?
Chris, here I thought
you're on Gemini.
Google Meet. Oh.
There we go. I have too many tabs open. That's the problem. Right. Share this tab instead. I think we're back to business. Okay. So another question we had was, how can teachers make the most of the version history when it comes to understanding and supporting the way students create, refine their work, particularly with AI tools now in the mix. And I know, Claire, you put a slide in, so you must have something to talk about.
Yes, so it's definitely a great way to look back at a student's work in a doc in the version history to see, yeah, just like how they got there and what their path was. And there are definitely great teaching points for going back and looking at where they went and going from there. But I'm a big fan of the BRIS Teaching Inspect Writing tool. And if you haven't got that, it's a Google Chrome extension. And my 4th episode was just all about that recently. But it's a really great tool that you can actually go on a student's piece of writing, and it will actually give you like a replay of how they created the doc. So it's actually a really good way to see how they used AI to create their writing as well. You can see like this example that one I had there was one pace, but they took them 12 minutes and 128 edits to do it. So it looks like they've probably done one big thing, but then they've sort of fiddled with it a little bit. I tried it on one that with my student that she wrote herself in my year 4 class, and yeah, it said that strongly it wasn't AI detected, but it was interesting to see the process of how she came up with it and how she put that piece of writing together. And yeah, so yeah, there's definitely some things there that you can do. At my school, we actually use this as one element in terms of our AI detection policy for students if we've suspected of use AI, and this is one element that we can use to see as an extra piece of evidence, have they used it or not, before, you know, asking the students a bit more comprehensive questions, comparing it to a cold write they've done and that sort of thing. But it's a great way, yeah, to go back and see them put the doc together.
I'm just going to back up a little bit here, because I know there will be people watching this recording or seeing this who go, what's a version history? I don't know what you're talking about. Right?
Yeah.
So I just want to back up a second, because in every Google Doc, and this is oh, sorry, share this tab. Here's a Google Doc. This is just the document that Claire and Kelly and I have been using to sort of plan out our activities for GEG. I've blanked out the password so no one can see it. But, you know, we've been building this document over a period of some months now. But if you go to the file menu and down to where it says version history, you can see the version history. And you can actually go back in time and see all the different edits that people have made over time, right? Now, that's actually tracked in a sort of a, I guess, an internal database that other systems can tap into. And just to sort of show you what this looks like. Now, I'm going to show you something that's not, it's a free tool for a month, and then you got to pay for it. So I'm not advocating for it, but it's interesting to see. It's a little tool called Draftback. It's a Chrome extension, and if you turn on Draftback, it processes the change log that it finds in that version history, right? So it's just processed. Where is it? If I come out of there now, it's just found 2,662 revisions.
No.
So this document's had changes made to it, and they could come down to individual keystrokes, right? But it's had over 2,500 revisions. If I click this draft back button and say play that, what it'll do is it'll replay this document, not in real time, unless I click this checkbox that says play at actual speed, right? But it's showing how this document was created. And as a teacher, if you see things like big blocks of text suddenly appear, I mean, that's a red flag for things, right? It's either plagiarism or AI or something. So just being able to know that that's how documents are created in the Google world, I think is a, you know, thing to know.
And I came in handy the other day with a student that deleted everything and didn't understand how to get it back and all that. But I'm like, oh, we can just go back and find the version history and restore that. And they thought I was a genius. I'm not really.
And the other thing that I never realized this in the beginning was that I always thought if you had revision A, B, C, and D, and then you rolled back to C, you actually came back in time to C. But what you're doing is you're moving forward in time to E that happens to look exactly like C, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so that is if you've got something in a document that you've since deleted but you want to keep, you can go back in time, copy it, move forward in time again, and paste it again. So you can essentially step back in time and sort of get things from the past. But it's not a linear timeline in the sense that if you go back in time, you lose everything back to that point. You don't. So anyway, useful to know, I think. Which here. All All right. This was a legit question someone asked about the level 1 and level 2 exams. So Google has a certification program of exams, and and they are changing in September. And someone asked a question about how are they changing. So let me just go into this other tab here.
Because they were
And I'm switching. There you go. So this is just the Google website. It's just edu.google.com. And if you come onto this website and look in the resources tab, there's a thing that says certifications. And so this is where you'll find all the information on the Google certifications. They do a thing called level 1 and level 2. And for anyone who's sort of wanting to sort of, I guess, validate what they know or certify in what they know, like it's a good place to start. You do your level 1, you do level 2. For anyone that gets a level 1 and 2, that then opens the door to things like Google Certified Innovator, Google Certified Trainer, Google Certified Coach, and some of those higher levels. That's where really the interesting stuff starts to happen. And the reason Google structure it this way is because they want, as people come into this community, like what we really want to do is get the conversation about tools off the table. Let's stop talking about which button to press, right? Let's start talking about interesting things you can do with this technology. And I think by structuring it with like a level 1 and a level 2, then that's laying the foundation for people to understand how the tools work. Great. Now that we all understand that, we can stop talking about it and move on to much more interesting things. What do you do with the tools? So that's kind of the rationale behind it. There are a bunch of courses to support those. And these are some of those higher levels I was talking about: Innovator, Trainer, Coach, and GG Leader. And so that's how that's structured. Now, the level 1 and level 2, how it's changing in September. It used to be what was called a scenario-based exam. In other words, they would fire up an actual Google account for you with a live environment. And you'd go in and it'd say, like, you know, create a folder, make a Google Doc, create a Google form, export the documents from the form, put it in a spreadsheet, blah, blah, blah. Like, it would ask you to do things and you get graded on actually completing those tasks. The history of it is that at some point they wanted to expand into a whole lot more languages as Google opened up to the world, and it was just too hard to do that in that environment. So they went back to a multiple choice exam. I don't think that was the best decision, but that's where it went. But it did allow them to open it up to dozens and dozens of languages around the world, and that was the rationale. Starting in September, they're bringing back the scenario questions. So if you do a level 1 or level 2 after, I think it's September 1, I believe is the date. It keeps changing. So the exam will be, I think it's 45 multiple choice, or maybe 35 multiple choice questions, and then 3 scenario questions where it dumps you into, I know I did level 1 the other day, it dumps you into Google Drive, and then Google Classroom, and then Google Forms, and asks you to do things with those 3 environments. So that's how it's changing. I think it's a much better version of the exam. It's much more authentic, I think.
Well, you're applying the tools.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it kind of, a nerd that I am, I actually found it fun before. So I'm going to redo my level 2, because you have to redo it every 3 years if you want to stay active in the community. So I'm up to doing my level 2 again in December.
You can do level 1 and 2 at the moment. You just go to this website and click the register now button and you can do it, but it'll be the old exam, like the multiple choice only exam. If you do it in September and beyond, it'll be the new exam with the new scenario questions in there. The champion community has been beta testing the new questions, and I think we found quite a few bugs, so they've taken it offline temporarily while they fix some of those things, because we'd rather find them before we launch it to everybody rather than after. But yeah, that's how that works. So that question, that's how they're changing after September. How can emerging AI tools be used to spark creativity and make learning more engaging for students? And I don't know what's in here. But look, it's clear.
So I might get Chris to demo while I talk, if you like, because you're
really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So a gem that well, Chris showed us this the other day. You might have noticed in Gemini there's a pre-made gem called Storybook. So if you click on that, it's actually it's amazing. So you can choose the characters, you can choose the setting, and it will make an actual book, like online book.
So I was just going to, just for anyone who might not even know what this is, because I'm sure there will be people, gems are like little customized versions of Gemini where you can preload it with context basically. You can come up with the who am I and what do I want to do and how do I want to do it, and this is the context, and you can load it into a little package called a gem. And then you ask questions or prompt the gem rather than what I call Big Gemini, right? And then it's much more specific to that use case. So Google make a few gems. So here in the Gem Manager, it explains, if I go show more, there's a whole bunch of gems that are already pre-made for you. And Claire's about to tell you about this one called Storybook, but there's a whole bunch of them. And then if you want, you can actually make your own. I give mine names for some reason. I don't know why, but
You've got to show them the Pluto one.
the Pluto one's a cracker. I love the Pluto one. I think I've told people that before, but yeah. So Claire's going to talk about this one. So Claire, I'll do it while you talk about it if you like.
Yeah, sure. So we can create like a book like for students in our class or for any scenario that you like. I've seen examples online of people writing them for like how long they've been like dating their partner, like a little story about their relationship as a present. Yeah, you did. That's right. Yeah. So yeah. All right. So we've got a little prompt there using create a story about, what was the one we did the other day?
A girl called Elise. I'm just making this up. Who
and we said
loves cats and goes on a crazy cat adventure. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up, right?
Remember back in the day where you would sit in a circle and each person would say a word to add to the story? You could just get the kids to do that as you're typing it in and then turn that into a storybook.
Imagine it. That would be fun.
This will take a few moments to do. So, Claire, you can tap dance for a moment. Off you go.
Yeah. Don't tempt me. I actually will do it. But yeah, but I was already thinking, I want to try show my year fours this, but how cool for them to create or even base it on a story they're writing themselves, and then you can see it come to life. Because I know in Google Read Along, that's within Google Classroom, you do have that option of making your own book. But this goes that next step further with the incredible image generation from Gemini, and you actually see it when it loads. It looks like an actual book, and the pages can turn, and the audio will read it out to you as well, which is a really cool feature. And I think, can you download it, Chris, or share it, embed it? I think you can.
I don't think yet. I see Julian's put a thing in the chat saying that you can now use Storybook without going to the gem. You can use it straight in Big Gem. I think it's smart enough to know that if you ask for a storybook, it knows to invoke the gem. Yeah.
There you go.
So
it does look easy.
So this is what it's given us, and you can flick through and look at the pages, and it's nice little. Now, right now, as far as I can tell, this only exists here in Gemini. I don't see any way of exporting out other than there is the option to export it out as a PDF, but nobody wants that, right? It seems to me like the next logical step would be to combine this with Read Along. So
I think so.
Inside Classroom, where to be able to make a custom book for a child, and the child reads that book that either has their name or their interests or words they need help with or whatever. It'll custom make the book for each individual child. But there is also a button up here. If I go back to the beginning, let's go back to the start. There is a play button, and with two voices. Right now, it's either a high-pitched voice, which sounds female, and a lower-pitched voice, which sounds male. But we'll just call it high-pitched. And if you say "listen,"
Elise's Great Cat Adventure. Elise lived in a world of purrs and paws. Her house was a haven for cats of all shapes and sizes, each one a treasured friend. One evening,
so it goes on like that. And I must admit, the first time I saw this, Ryan, who was in the call before, he posted something on LinkedIn about it. And I got to admit, cynical me, my first reaction was, well, that's great, but the story's going to be rubbish, right? But the stories are actually pretty good.
I was thinking you could really link it in with a literacy lesson on language features as well. Like, yeah, it's really good.
It feels like that this is like a first step, that once you can generate books, the things you can do with that are coming down the pipeline in terms of identifying literacy aspects and listening to the kid read it, or identifying the nouns, or like all of that sort of stuff becomes possible. Now we've got this first step done, I think. I don't know, just a
very cool.
So that's the books. I think that's pretty neat.
AI tool for sure.
Yeah, if I can go back to the slides, here we are. Okay, did you want to say anything else about that, Claire?
No, I just did some screenshots of like, yeah, if someone's looking back at these slides, what it looks like and what they do to get there. So yeah.
Ellie, you've been conspicuously quiet. I don't want to feel like we're talking over you and leaving you out. So jump in. I threw this in as well because the question was, what was I forget the question now. Emerging AI tools for creativity and learning. So I just threw this in, and Jules mentioned this before, Notebook LM. Like, it is an amazing tool, and it just keeps getting better and better. And even this week, they've launched 2 new things this week: flashcards and quizzes, which I did have. I don't have, so I don't know, it's just mid-launch or something. For anyone who doesn't know what this is, Notebook LM, just Google Notebook LM, you'll find it.
It's in your wallet.
In your wallet. And if you're on a Chromebook, it's actually like a built-in app you can't remove now, I think. So what you do is you load it up with resources, and then you can interrogate those resources. You can prompt them, ask some questions, and so on. But because you're always tapping into the source of truth, which is your documents, then it doesn't hallucinate. I mean, I won't say it doesn't hallucinate. It hallucinates way, 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 way less than some other AIs do. But you can do things like create mind maps, create audio overviews, and the uses for this are just endless. Like, in terms of, I'm one of these people that tend to try out things in my personal life and then figure out how it would fit in an educational context. I know other people do it differently, but that's kind of how I do it. So I think of use cases like, I ride a motorbike. What if I took all the documents about the road rules and motorcycle handbooks and everything else and uploaded them into one, and then I could start asking questions about road rules, especially because I've just moved to the ACT, and like, how is the ACT rules different to the New South Wales rules? So upload all of those documents in and then start asking it those sorts of questions. Another use case that I'm not necessarily proud of, but I've had some pretty testy email exchanges and text exchanges with my sister over the years, and I thought, I uploaded them all into Notebook LM and started asking questions about what's the problem. So, like, there's lots of really interesting use cases you can do.
Chris, we use tools for good and we use tools for evil. I'm going to let you think about that for a second. That's awesome.
I would have liked to see the mind map on that one.
Oh.
Who was right?
It's pretty impressive, actually. But yeah, like, tons of things. And in fact, I have it open. I don't have it open at the moment. But yeah, if you haven't checked this out, it's amazing. And the audio overviews. I mean, another use case. My partner is we've moved to Canberra. She's trying to apply for public service jobs. There's very specific things you need to do to apply for public service jobs. So we downloaded all of the handbooks for what you need to do, and said, create an audio overview. And the next time we drove back to Sydney, we listened to like a 30-minute podcast on how to apply for a public service job. I mean, those are the sorts of use cases that I think I like doing in my personal life, and then figuring out, I can see real use cases for this and how you use it inside a school.
I'd go even further, Chris, particularly if I was in a secondary school. This is a core application that the kids should be using once they're around developing their own learning experience and learning how to learn. It is outstanding. And even now, as I said, you've got different audio overviews, you've got different video overviews, you can customize those, plus the reports. So it has just grown really, you can just see it developing, but not many people are aware of it. It is a killer app.
Yeah,
it's a killer learning app.
Sorry, Claire.
I was going to say, for school scenario, we've actually had a meeting with IT, and we've asked for permission to trial this with Year 11 and Year 12 as an amazing study tool for the HSC. So we're going to start doing that very soon with the Year 11s going to Year 12 in the next few weeks. So, and then we've also tried it as a well-being tool for staff, like building one for us to learn how to use it. But, like when teachers have got a behaviour issue and they don't know what to chronicle it under, or like, that kind of thing, like, that's like school-based sort of handbook questions for new staff. We're trying to build something like that for them.
Yeah.
The good thing is you can share those notebooks too.
Yes.
And within your domain, I'm still frustrated that you can't share it generally, like publicly, but that would be really good, because once you create a notebook, and I'll just use my one about skateboarding, right? So I just found a whole bunch of documents about the history of skateboarding because I'm interested in it, right? And you can come up to this share button up here and share that out. Now, right now, the sharing is only within your domain, so you can see what most people are grayed out. But you can share either the full notebook or just the chat only. So to create like a custom chat that you want people to interact with, you can come and define the chat here with specific context, and then take just the chat only, and then share that within your domain and create a custom chatbot that only talks about the things stays within the guardrails.
Yep,
that's powerful.
There's one other little use case that you might. This is probably a side thing. I had a video file that I wanted the transcript from, and I didn't want to pay for anything.
Yep.
Grabbed the audio out of it.
Yeah.
Dropped it into here. It transcribes it.
Oh, that's good.
Really well.
Who was Tony Alva, right? So you can ask Tony. It even ignores my typos, right? So you can ask it a question, but because it's using your source material, that when it comes up, it'll come in here and it'll put these little numbers next to things. So when you click on it, it'll go to the source and show you whereabouts in the actual source material that content came from. So you never were left wondering, where did the AI come up with this idea from? You can go and check it.
And don't forget to click add note if you want to save that chat.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, really powerful once you start digging into it. Yeah, cool.
You could do a whole session just on Notebook LM.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, 100%. 100%, yeah. All right. And then we had this question, how can Google help with a to-do list? And
oh, yeah. Only just that. Yeah, I think there's a slide that I put there, but a lot of people don't realize now that Google Tasks is now linked with your Google Calendar. And we found that, the good old in a doc now, you can press Shift and 2 to get that menu, and you can assign people directly. We had to comment and then assign in a comment to people, but you can actually have your picture and then it saves it as a task. And so if you go to your Google Calendar and you click on that little button that I've put the arrow on, there's a list of all your tasks there. And I was showing this without even meaning to. I was we're in our middle leader meeting the other day, and I got asked had to do something, so I tagged myself. And they're like, how did you do that? How did you put your picture in there? And then when I showed them, they're like, this is blowing my mind. And say something I just take for granted now. We've been working like that for a while, but people might not realize. I just wanted to share the wonderful world. And there's all these really great building blocks in Docs too that can really help for your to-do list, for your I love the simple decision log actually. So when I have a meeting with my my head of digital learning at my school, I just put a list of all the stuff I've been working on and assign myself or show him that and link it to what I'm up to. And is it in progress? Have I completed it? It's like, it's really cool.
The other thing too is for anyone in a school environment, and this is a Google Workspace Plus feature. So, but most schools are using Plus now. So if you create a checklist inside a Google Doc, then next, as you hover over the checklist boxes, a little option will come up. Let's see if I can go to a doc and show you what I mean. Share this tab instead. I'm going to go into here and just, actually, I think I've got one here already. Okay, so here was a list of things that needed to get done, right? And you can see if I hover over the little icon, like so, oh, that one's done. Not there, right? I can assign a task. So inside a Google Doc, I can assign a task to a specific person and by a specific date and then assign it. Now, it needs to be done within your domain. But when you assign a task to someone, it will appear on their calendar. It will appear in their task list. And if they cross it off after they've done it in their calendar or on their task list, it comes and crosses it off in the Google Doc as well. So everything's right across the 3 tool sets. And
it's really good.
A lot of power in doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah, particularly if you have like a meet and then you have your notes from the meet and your link. Yeah, they're all linked as well.
I was just going to say on that original slide, your first slide, Claire, I think where you had the sites and sheets.
Oh,
and
yeah.
One thing that's missing there is the connectors in the middle, and it's the connectors such as this. There's the connectors such as the chips, the smart chips, all the shortcuts, the shortcut that allows you to connect between those various products are so powerful and so quick.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Indeed. We're getting near the end, so I'm just going to jump forward, and I think this might be our last question, actually. What is Nano Banana in Gemini? How can I use it?
It's all over, online at the moment.
One of the things about Gemini, right from the beginning, it was designed to be what's called a multimodal generative AI tool. In other words, you can give it text or images or videos and have it generate all of these things. So it's not specifically just a text tool or just an image tool. If you think back a couple of years to when AI was emerging, you needed separate tools for separate jobs. With multimodal tools, you don't need to do that because they can kind of cover all the ground. The image generation tool inside Gemini uses a technique called, I think it's called the diffusion modeling. Don't ask me how it works, but that's what it's called. And it was really good at, actually it wasn't great, but it's become really good at generating images. So you can say, make me a picture of a cat wearing a pink tutu, standing on a surfboard, and it'll do that sort of stuff for you. It's really good at imagining the things you can tell it. Nano Banana is kind of the latest iteration of that image generation model, but one of the things it's especially good at is editing existing images. So you can give it an image and ask for a change. And I do have a couple of examples here. So the photo on the left is that's my partner, and we went to Japan recently, and we went to Nara, and this is in Nara Deer Park, and she was standing there with a deer, and with a little bit of magic from Nano Banana, it turns into she's standing in the African savannah with a cheetah in her hands. Right now, the way I did this, because I rarely jump in one step, so you can see it started out with that first photo, and I said turn the deer into a cheetah, great, turn the background into a savannah, great, dress the woman in the safari suit, make the girl in the cheetah stand on the sandy dirt rather than the whatever it's standing on, change the hat into a pith helmet, right? And then that's what I ended up with. So you could probably have gone there in one leap, but I don't know, when I was playing with it, I did it in multiple leaps, so I thought I'd share with you what happened. And that's what you end up with. You notice it puts a little Gemini star in the lower right-hand corner of each image, that it is AI generated, that you can crop out. So I don't know what sort of proof that is. It is getting very hard to believe your eyes these days, and really there's a whole thing you can now go into, well, not now, but always go into about, can we believe what we see, and what is fake and what's real and all that. That's a whole can of worms that you can now open really easily. Another photo on holiday is just standing in front of Mount Fuji. We said turn it into a Simpsons version. Great. Turn it into Lord of the Rings, and that's Mount Doom in the background. So that kind of fun stuff you can do. And then this one I thought was interesting. I had this photo of her, and I said, she was talking about maybe dyeing her hair blonde. And I went, okay, imagine her with the blonde hair. And then it's like, imagine her with a 1960s beehive. And then I was like, give her really, really long hair. So it did that.
Remember my comment earlier about use of good and evil, Chris? Again, just think carefully. When you're messing with a woman's hair, it's dangerous.
Well, it gets worse. It gets worse, or better, depending on your point of view. And then I said, remove all the hair. I said, make her bald. And it did that.
It looks like a scarf.
Pointing out that the AI definitely doesn't work.
Connor.
And then she's proudly wearing her hair as a scarf. I'm not sure how to take that.
Well, my next prompt was just remove all the hair, and it did that.
I've had enough now.
So it does not always get it right, but it's a lot of fun to play with. But I think, Julian, you were saying before, you actually had actual educational examples of this. You want to tell?
Do we have time to do a very quick show and tell of the educational example?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah, I'll share now.
Sure. I will stop sharing. Over to you.
All right. So hopefully everybody can see my screen. So we'll talk about this next time. So the tool I built this in is a tool called Google AI Studio, which I've fallen in love with. It allows you to build custom apps. So we'll talk about that next time. Brilliant tool. So what I wanted to do was, for those who don't know, I used to be a history teacher. I always used to try and get students to think about themselves in the context. So what I did was, using Nano Banana and Google Gemini, I created this app called the World War I Poster Generator. So you can go through and choose from Australian or British posters. Let's go to a British poster. There's a very famous poster called Daddy, What Did You Do? Where, a dad's sitting there and, in his couch smoking his pipe, and the kids are looking up to him, making him feel guilty. So what the students can do is they can click to upload, find a picture of themselves, which I'm going to grab right now, and go create my poster. So what it's now doing is using Nano Banana to take the original poster, the photo of the student. In fact, the live version, we've actually made it a live camera, so they can't upload pictures of somebody else. So there's actually an updated version. But then it uses Nano Banana, it then stylizes it, and now we have Daddy, What Did You Do? Also, more importantly, we then turn it into a reflective task. So on the right-hand side, the other cool thing is when you're using Nano Banana via what's called an API call, notice that there is no star in the corner. So they can do this and download it without having that star saying it's artificial. So what they then have is a quick explanation about that poster and for them to reflect on it, to think about it. So we're using the put yourself in the picture as a way of contextualizing it, to making it feel more personal to the student, but then turning it into a reflection. So in this case, it's asking, what was your initial emotional reaction when you put yourself in here? Oh, I feel guilty. And it's going to, okay, great. Why do you feel guilty? And again, so we've now actually rolled this out to a couple of our history classes in schools. But again, great, honest, helpful, insightful reaction. Can you go through and share some thoughts on this? Now, the only other thing I'm going to see if I can very quickly find, so bear with me, is something else that as you're using these tools, you need to think about. In my case, I actually need to make sure I thought about things that I had not expected, because the other thing we want to do is to make this a part of a task, is to actually say, well, once you've done a couple of posters, create your own poster. I want you to create a propaganda poster of what you, and by the way, it's all the same process. They describe it, they then choose their photo, and then they have to reflect on their poster, which is really powerful. But when you do things like this, and I'm sorry, I'm just very quickly, because I know we've all got places to be, I'm just going to try and find this. I had to get my own staff to try and break it, because the thing is, it's great when you go through and fantastic, I found it. All right, so I'm just going to bring this in. So I actually went to my IT staff and I said, okay, I've made this fantastic tool. In fact, I used the tool to create a poster. Julian needs me to run tests. And, let me know if you get errors. And can you generate inappropriate content? Because I thought I put guardrails on it. Turns out, not good enough. They started doing things from Command and Conquer, which is a PC game. I went, no, we don't want students doing Command and Conquer. So I added a new guardrail to make sure it had to be history. One of the other guys who uses a piece of software called Laserfish was able to make things that didn't relate to the subject matter. Okay, I made more specific guardrails. And because this was the Monday after the immigration protests, he was able to make this poster, which, by the way, I did not guardrail, because there were issues around immigration back in World War I, and that's why we had a very high degree of solidarity and pride in country. So, as long as I could explain the context, this wasn't an issue. I'm just going to scroll down to my favorite picture, because he just took one of the other team members and said, Jared likes balls, but yet the image still kept my guardrails, which was nothing inappropriate. So we now have a whole bunch of soldiers on the beach playing with basketballs. And I'm like, okay. So again, while I didn't want to go into a lecture there, these tools are amazing, but especially as you start thinking about how you create your own, which I'd love to talk about in a future session, because this is amazing. It also means that you have to think about, how can this be used for good? Or if I gave it to Chris, how could he use it for evil? And you do it. But yeah, so this is how we're actually using Nano Banana to do exactly what Chris was saying. In this case, taking historical posters, taking the student face, it literally adapts it, but it keeps the original accuracy of the original poster and the accuracy of the student's face to create this truly authentic piece. So yeah, that's that quick show and tell of Nano Banana use.
I did build something with I did build something similar the other day in AI Studio, which is you can take a photograph of any object around you, and then it'll create a billboard or a bus stop advertising or a Times Square neon sign. It'll place your object into all sorts of advertising contexts, which I thought was interesting. The fact that it can do it is amazing.
In fact, it was that video on YouTube, Chris, that prompted me to create this tool.
Yes.
I was actually watching that video, and I thought, oh, what
Yeah.
if I had context to poster? So yeah, I know the video talking about, and that's what led me down the rabbit hole.
Yep, easy to do. It's a very deep rabbit hole. Right, we are definitely at time, so let's just wrap this up. Was that a question?
Oh,
Oh,
we'll do that next time.
there's a whole thing in itself. We kind of talked about this before, where you can use that Canvas tool inside Classroom, inside Gemini, and then spit out the JavaScript code or whatever code you like, and then drop it into a Google site and sort of run an app on a site. But it's not just that. I mean, even I had a thing I had to do recently where I had a had a list of names in a a Google Sheet, and I wanted to create a set of slides where every name in the sheet was at the top of the slide, so everyone had a slide to fill in. And I thought, oh, there's no tool inside Slides to do that. And I thought, oh, I wonder if Gemini can write the app script code for that. Sure can. So it did it threw an error the first time, and all I did was go back and say, fix the error. And it did, and now it works great. So you build all sorts of cool stuff.
Chris, just say you might I don't know. Have you played with Opal at all?
I have not.
Okay. It's a beta in Google. It's a Google AI. It's like N8N, which is a workflow for multiple AI tools.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
It's always something new to learn. We sort of got questions as we went, but I think we've sort of checked those off mostly as we've gone along, so we're not going to do that. We're a bit over time, so we might come back to that in a future episode. We'll talk about what's working for you. I think we've touched on a lot of that as we've gone through as well. I love the fact that today's been very much lots of people contributing ideas and thoughts. So just in terms of staying up to date, we've got a few things coming up. On 23rd of October, we're going to do a deep dive into artificial intelligence with Gemini, and I have invited Julian and Ryan, who were in the call earlier, to come and join us for that because they seem to know a lot of really nerdy stuff about Gemini. So please do, and AI in general. In December, we're doing an end of year wrap up, just some quick tips and updates to finish the year up. Yes, nerdy. And in January, we're going to do like a back to school thing. We haven't got the exact details yet, but we're going to do something there as well.
Yeah, we'd like to do that one in person at Google. Yeah.
We're trying to organise for Google to host that. So if you want to come along to Sydney Google office, please do. Hopefully we'll get that happening. One of you go.
Yeah, just so follow along and come along to go onto our GG Sydney website and check you getting our emails, and they're not in your junk mail, but if you're here today, obviously you did. And spread the word, share the love. And we've got, Chris has put together a little GG logo you can add to your own little credentials. That's on the website as well.
Yeah. So if you want to add to your email signature or however you want to use it, that's fine. You can get them from that link there. We'll share the slides later on to everybody. The website is gegsydney.com, but I'm just going to give a free plug here to, I've just moved to Canberra recently, so I'm also starting the Canberra GEG. I'll eventually leave it to the lovely Claire and Kelly to sort of carry on with Sydney at some point, but you're stuck with me for the moment. So if anyone's watching this and you're in the Canberra or capital area and you want to get involved in a GEG there, it's just gegcanberra.com. So head over there as well. We've got a whole bunch of, we're on all the platforms that you can search for us on pretty much all of them, except X, because none of us like Elon. So we're not on.
Can't be bothered.
There you go. And thank you very much. That wraps us up. Sorry.
Thank you for having.
Thanks, everyone. It was awesome.
Yeah,
no worries. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, it was great today. I really enjoyed it. I'm just going to stop the recording. And for those that are watching,
Thanks for the presentation and preparation.